Hi, Karl, and welcome everybody. Now, Karl needs no introduction. He has been training for more than 20 years and has trained thousands of people in more than 25 countries. Karl is one of the founding masters of EFT. Karl trains personally and has high quality, experienced assistants on hand in his courses. Karl has presented at EFT and other conferences worldwide alongside Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Rupert Sheldrake, Louise Hay, Caroline Mays, Greg Braden, and Lynn McTaggart, and many more. He is a Hay House author and the author of Transform Your Beliefs, Transform Your Life. Karl, as you rightfully put it, EFT is the most talked about therapy of the 21st century. Karl Dawson is the Director of Training for EFT and Matrix Reimprinting Academy, the world's largest EFT certification body with more than 6,000 practitioners, over 80 EFT trainers, and 25 Matrix Reimprinting trainers. Your passion to share this knowledge and your service and dedication to being an ambassador to teaching and spreading this amazing self-help and therapeutic tool is admirable and praiseworthy. I am so grateful and honored to be a part of this community as trainer leading EFTMRA India. A hearty welcome to you, Karl. And now we would love to hear from you before taking questions.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for the introduction. It's actually, just corrections, it'd be 20 years since I became a practitioner.
Okay.
It was 2002, so just 20 years this year. Training is about 18 years training. Okay. Just a little correction there. Yeah. Members wise, I think we've just gone over 8,000 members worldwide now. So that's quite a bit higher than
the 6,000. Yes.
Yeah, about 8,000. Yeah. So yeah, any questions? Well, first of all, yeah, with you, Mridula, having met you, you know, we spent 10 days together in the UK. You came over, you went through my whole course in 2 different venues. Lovely to have you there. You know, brilliant addition to the course. Really proud to have you there. You're heading up EFTMRA in India, and already you're bringing these guys together to to reinstate, to get trainers back in India. I just felt it was. I mean, that's just, to me, it's just so wrong. Yeah, we need these tools out there, and no, more than ever. I'm sure India, just like England and every country in the world, is suffering so much physical and especially psychological issues of what's happened over the last 2 years. Yes. We need people out there. Yes. And I believe that with the EFT and Matrix, they're very safe therapies. They're quick, they're easy to learn. And what I love about them is they are the everyman therapies. You don't have to spend 3 years, like you will with being a psychologist or other forms of talk therapy. They're safe and effective. And so we need it out there. So I'm so pleased that your last year, it was a few years ago, wasn't it, when you first came over to redo the Matrix course with me? Yes. And that's when we first spoke about this idea of coming over to India, and then we can have all these trainers back as EFT MRA trainers and get people back out there learning these skills and helping people around India, because it's it's a huge population, as we know. Was it about 1.3 billion?
1.3 billion, yes.
Yeah, okay. And ladies and gentlemen, are you okay with my accent? Can you understand me?
Yes.
Perfectly. Is that okay? Yeah, yeah. I know it's something Mridula was worried about when I come over there, but I have done a lot of courses around the world where I have to speak very slow and deliberate. So I can make myself understood. Don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were just about to ask a question, Mridula.
So nowadays there are so many online trainings and certifications available in EFT. How is EFT MRA different?
Okay. Well, first of all, we do not do any online training. Okay. Yeah. We made this decision. I spoke to a few of our senior trainers back at the beginning of COVID, and just I've done something like 200 EFT courses and about 180 matrix courses. And you've experienced what happens, on these courses. I want people to fully experience, that what happens. I want people to present, even though they're there as potential new practitioners or they're there for self-help, I want them to experience what it's like to recall the trauma, to feel it, to resolve it, and know that this stuff works. And the same that they've also facilitated that with other practitioners. And I think doing it online, for one, people can just hide a little bit and not really fully immerse themselves, and can just sit there and listen.
Yeah.
And also from a safety point of view, I mean, you've seen how many helpers I have on my courses.
Yes.
Especially in the Brighton course, which tends to be bigger. How many helpers were there? I think there was, with yourself, there was 4 other helpers.
Yes. Yes.
And at times, even though the course is like 30 people, I've needed 4 helpers.
Yeah.
Because, big things come up, especially over a 5-day course. And again, online, that's not safe to me. So you mentioned the amount of trainers we have, worldwide, especially, with both EFT and Matrix, but, I've created Matrix trainers, and you will be pretty soon a Matrix trainer in India to help the spread.
Okay.
So we've got trainers in places like Japan, Australia, Costa Rica, Mexico, Brazil, Chile, wonderful, quite a few in Eastern Europe as well, places like Bulgaria, Romania. So I've got trainers that we can do live courses, and over the last few years, some different degrees, the same as myself, courses. At times it's been fine. At times, I've had to go myself like 7-8 months without training because of lockdowns and such. But I'd rather wait until we can do courses, because to me it's so important that it's face to face. And that's fine, but I think you can't assure the quality. And also for me, as the head of training with the EFTMRA, I've got to make decisions not just based on myself, but on all of our trainers. And I can't say, okay, we'll do online training because, it's okay for you to do an online training. Yours might be perfect and wonderful, but it's hard to keep that standard when everybody's doing their own online trainings, and some of them might be very weak, some of them might be very strong. But I had to make decisions for the whole organisation and for the whole academy. So I'm pleased I did that, and I think it's borne out now that hopefully we're getting on the other side of COVID, that we can go back to some kind of normality where, I want to have more trainers around the world for EFTMRA, taking this amazing work out there, to the people. And that's my stance, and our stance with our other, senior trainers with the EFTMRA. So now on the other side of that, once people have done the basics, EFT level 1, 2, 3, and the Matrix course. Now we do have speciality courses we do online. It's absolutely fine. We've got one on past life. Moving on. So that's with EFTMRA. That's where we stand. It'll only be live courses for the basic trainings, the practitioner 1 and 2, which is the combined together as a 3-day course, and then for the level 3, they will only always be live face-to-face courses.
Okay. Thank you for that, Karl. Can you share a little bit about your personal journey with EFT?
So it goes back to, I mentioned 20 years ago, 2002, very ill at the time. Pain issues was the worst part, shoulders, I used to carry myself like that, and knees. For about a decade, I had problems with lower back, L5 sacrum. I had a disc problem there. We got to a point, wasn't working anymore, just because of pain, a lot of kind of autoimmune issues, allergies, confidence, not depression, but just like, not really a happy person. And then I went through a divorce. And at that stage, it was like, every time I went to the hospital for various things, it was like, well, we don't know what's wrong with your back. There's no point in taking x-rays, because even though what's wrong with your back, there's nothing we can do about it. So I find now just give up with the health system and thought, you know, I need to start looking at alternative methods. And I was looking actually through a series of synchronicity. I ended up in Thailand, in Koh Samui, one of the islands, and it was a detox retreat where I think originally it's based on sort of Indian learners, but there's a few centres there in Koh Samui, and you do fasting, you do yoga, meditation, you know, a lot of Thai massage, and you do colonics, and it was just like that in itself was transformational. But it was there I met their resident therapist who had a newsletter that once I left, he kept sending me this stuff on EFT. And for a while, I just ignored it. And then one day I thought, you know, just all this stuff, EFT, what is it? And it took me to Gary Craig's early manuals. So I read the manual, I was absolutely fascinated with energy and psychology. And then, yeah, it was my mother-in-law, my ex-mother-in-law by that stage. I'd go into have a chat with her. She was talking about, she's been in a situation with a fear of heights in a shopping centre in Birmingham. And I said, look, let's give this a go. And it was really very, very basic EFT, even though I've got this fear of heights. We didn't go to specific memories. We didn't tune into the feeling. We just did a few rounds. And then she said, what's supposed to happen, Karl? And I said, I have no idea. And I said, well, that was great. Thank you for that. I'm like, oh, that was embarrassing. And then 2 weeks later, my sister-in-law, Maggie, that was with her on the original time where she just literally froze and just hung onto the side, said, we've just gone back and the fear's completely gone. And I'm like, no, you joke, you're just trying to make me feel better, aren't you? And said, no, it's gone. I went over to her house, talked to her, and said, no. And since to that day, you know, the fear of heights. So my first time I ever tried it with somebody, it was a 1 minute wonder, but that was it, hooked. So I sought out practitioners to start to do work on myself. After a while in my new life, I realized all my new friends were practitioners. And then I just suddenly realized one day, actually, you want to be a practitioner yourself, don't you? So then, yeah, I just studied. I went over to America with Gary Craig. I just studied. You know, just bought every book, every CD. You know, it was just absolutely obsessional. And so, yeah, I was a practitioner for 2-3 years. And then one day, there's another little synchronicity in my life. I had 3 new clients in one day who were all teachers. And just, you know, a little bit of self-talk. It was like 3 teachers in one day. That's really weird. And my little voice in my head said, well, it's time to teach this now. And which was a bit, you know, the whole idea of that was very scary at the time. But about 3 months later, I did the first course. That was like 2004, 2005. And that was it. You know, ever since then, after a number of years, I stopped seeing clients. I just focused on the training. And then in 2007, Gary did the master's program, Gary Craig. And yeah, initially I just applied to be a spectator. And then I got, you know, accepted, you know, just basically, you know, as part of the audience. And then I thought, you know what, why not just go for this? And that's what I love about EFT. You make decisions and then you can just tap everything that comes up once you've made a decision to do something. And believe me, I did a lot of tapping around that. I was the youngest of the masters in the world. A lot of them knew each other. They've been to Gary's house in the US, and like a lot of the UK masters knew each other. And yeah, it was incredibly difficult, even to get on the course. You know, the application was huge. It took me 3 days to go through the application process. And then, yeah, and then we were there. We was found myself there, you know, doing a demonstration from the Gary Craig for an hour with Ann Adams. Who, I mean, I wasn't scared of Gary. I was scared of Ann Adams. She was like a pit bull terrier. Like any mistake she made, she was, you know. She used to run a correctional institute for children. I mean, she was a monster, you know, a lovely lady, but you know, but she would really pick you up on anything you did wrong, you know. So it was really tough to get through. And after the 2 years of that he ran the process, there was only ever the 29 of us worldwide that got the status of the EFT Master. Some of the organizations now have given the EFT Master status, but what you'll find, the 29, they were called the EFT Founding Masters, you know, and you know, we deserve the title because we went through so much. You know, the once we did the demonstrations and such, we had a year to complete the test because it was such complex questions and such, and I mean, it was tough to get through. But then everything changed. Back then, Gary used to promote us, on his website, email free. It'd be like, these are my chosen people, my top practitioners, top trainers. So the trainings went from like small groups. Suddenly, like every month, I was doing a course of 30 people, and then started traveling around the world. And it's just gone from there. And then it was actually back some talking about Caroline in 2007, 2008. Once I started as a master, she said, "Why don't you come over to Australia and do a course out here?" And she'll get lots of nurses together. And it was actually on that course that the first matrix session happened. And then, since then, what's happened with the books. The first book with Sasha, which we did, the first Harris book, back in 2010, and then the one with Kate about 4 or 5 years ago. And that gave me then the opportunity, the privilege of going to these big conferences and being on the same venue as, like I said, people like my hero Bruce Lipton and Rupert Sheldrake and many others. And so it's been amazing 20 years, going from a real bad health and just life was misery to 20 years later, no pain. Actually, my ex-wife, we've been back together. We were divorced for 10 years. We've been back together 10 years. We remarried in Thailand, actually on Koh Samui about 4 or 5 years ago. It's been lovely to be back with my kids and that. They're all grown up now. They're 23 and 28. And it's just like life is completely different, which I can put down to, EFT Matrix. And so I've got huge gratitude towards Gary Craig for what he's done. And then everybody that's just helped me on my journey to where we are today.
Wow, that's really wonderful. Now, how does one differentiate between when to use EFT and when matrix will work better?
Okay. Well, there's times when you can't use matrix, okay, where you can use EFT. Let me put it that way. I'll give you some times. Children would need to be around the age of 6 or 7 to use matrix. With EFT, from being a baby, you can use EFT. Because if a baby's crying, you don't even need to know what's wrong with them because they tune into the problem. You can just tap on them, and whatever's there in their system, that energetically it's going to clear. Matrix, you need to take it more an active part, so the child has to kind of have the understanding because they're proactive in the process. So that'd be one time. With matrix, you have to have a specific memory. With EFT, you don't. So somebody could, I've got pain in my knee. So you could tap on that, you could chase the pain in the knee, and I've got this big, angry, red, throbbing pain in my left knee. Okay, you don't have to tune into the memory. So that's with the EFT on a day-to-day basis. Just on, you can just tap. Even though I'm a bit anxious today. Matrix, you have to have specific memory. Group work. EFT lends itself beautifully to group work. Matrix, you can't do it in a group scenario. Like I could do a matrix session on a one-on-one basis, and the people in the audience could use classic EFT borrowing benefits. But you can't have a group of people simultaneously doing matrix. So that's kind of like there's certain definite times. Matrix reimprinting is not a replacement for EFT. Yeah, it's just, to me, it's an advanced form and a different way of using EFT. What it would be a replacement for is the movie technique. So in EFT, once you have the specific memory, which doing EFT, to be properly therapeutically, and deeply, you want to go to problem-specific memories that are connected to that problem. So what you will find with the vast majority of people that's learned matrix is when they get to specific memories, they'll resolve the memory matrix style rather than with the movie technique, and the classic EFT techniques. That'd be the difference.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Would you be okay to share highlights of a couple of exceptional instances where EFT and Matrix have brought about profound healing?
Oh, geez, that's so many. I mean, bearing in mind, I'll give you a few from courses because over the last quite a few years now, my experience has been courses, so they tend to be 1 minute wonders on courses. Whereas if you talk to our practitioners, where they work with clients with like longer term issues. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's probably maybe 8, 9, 10 years since I've seen one-on-one clients.
Okay.
So courses, I mean, things like you've experienced when I do the pain section.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, twice. Well, I'll get people up and pain. I mean, like we've had like your frozen shoulders that have been there for 3 years, and arthritis. Talk about one lady that she had arthritis in her hand for 13 years. So on this demonstration, I asked her, what happened 13 years ago? Using a little bit of understanding from mental health. What could you hold on to? What's something strong enough to hold on to 13 years ago? And instantly she understood. She said, yeah, 13 years ago, myself and my husband, we divorced, and he went to social services in the UK and said that I was an unfit mother. So my children were taken away from me. Like 2 weeks later, I got them back, and after that, there was no problem. But this still has, in that moment, traumatized children are gone. Echo, I've lost my kids. And even though the kids come back 2 weeks later, she's still got the echo there. So we just went in, did a bit of Matrix, and she literally just talked to herself 13 years ago and said, it's okay, we get the kids back. It's just a temporary thing, we get the kids back, and after that, it's absolutely no problem. And she comes out of the memory and she's like, it's gone, the pain. 13 years of pain is gone. Now that works as an example of a 1 minute wonder, because this was not repetitive trauma. This was about one event that created this problem. I wasn't strong enough to hold on to my kids. Okay, so we get quite a lot of 1 minute wonders on courses. It's not really my aim. My aim is to teach people how to do the work and how to get to the specific memories. But I think you experienced in your 2 courses there, we saw quite a lot of 1 minute wonders. Things like abuse, sexual abuse.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember if we did any demonstrations on there, but the resolution there, can be so profound and quick. Years and years of all the implications of what's happened because of sexual abuse. And then, in a session or 2, you can go and resolve a very traumatic sexual abuse memory. And what I like about the difference with EFT and Matrix, what anybody that starts to use Matrix, is the depth that you get to. And I'll give you an example. Working with a lady in Bulgaria. Now, it was a demonstration on sexual abuse. What I didn't know when she came up, that she'd already done some EFT on this memory. So we went in to the memory. The echo was pretty much de-traumatized by the memory. Okay, through the EFT work. But when we went in, she said, I need to speak to the perpetrator. It was a guy, she was a little girl, and it was the guy in the apartment next door. So she, in the Matrix, she spoke to him. Said, like, you destroyed my life, my relationships, through what you did. And she has this conversation. The guy says, I'm so sorry for what happened. I regret what I did every day of my life. I go to prison. I deserve to. And he said, it's no excuse, but I was abused when I was a boy. I was abused, and I couldn't seem to stop what I did to you. But I'm so sorry. And listen to this. She suddenly went, yeah, okay, I understand now. I can forgive you. And when she came out, she said, you know what? The trauma resolution I did with EFT, it was important. But what's just happened there, so it's just a whole different level. No, I really feel on the deep subconscious level, I've forgiven that person. And it's not about letting them off the hook. It's for her. I can forgive and I can let go of what happened now. And that's what you'll get with Matrix. It's the depth that you can get to that you can't get to with EFT. Okay. Because you're going back to the moment of the trauma, literally sending your consciousness back through these portals that trauma creates. So literally, you are back at the moment of when this thing's happened, when these traumas happened and the beliefs and decisions was made. On a subconscious level, you can deal with all the beliefs. You can, the trauma resolution tends to be very quick. But to me, that's just part of the story with Matrix. EFT is great for trauma resolution, but it's where we go next with changing the beliefs and the understanding, the wisdom, the knowledge you gain. Now, these traumas and the beliefs, create our whole lives, and everything we do, down to our friendships, relationships, the work we do, and everything is all about trying to get resolution for these traumas. And that's what Matrix gives you, this deep understanding, and an actually effective way on a subconscious level, not to just understand the problem, but actually, change the perception. So I forget what the question was.
It's very deep work. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
You asked about specific experience, but yeah, just whether it's grief or loss or obviously things like, serious disease, it's more longer term work. So yeah, I'm not going to see a lot of that on the course, but yeah, I have seen people like, things like ME, fibromyalgia, where there's been a massive changes over 5 days of doing EFT and Matrix, where, incredible changes. Somebody's been like, almost bedridden previously. And then, over the 5 days, they just said like, I've got, they were worried to come on the course. I'll never get through 5 days of sitting in the classroom listening. After 5 days, they're bouncing out of the room with so much energy. We see things like that all the time. So no, it's profound what happens just on the course itself.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Khurshed, would you like to would you like to ask a question? Bawa has also written 3 books, Ready, Study, Go, Happiness Express, and his latest book is being released on the 14th. It's called Sleep Your Way to Success.
I like that one.
Bawa is a craniosacral therapy trainer and a Batliwala trainer. So,
okay, wonderful. Great therapist.
So I guess the biggest question on my mind right now is, do you have any great sequence of EFT for sleep, for helping sleep? For helping
any sequence?
Or anything that you could share that could really help people sleep better?
Okay, so I wouldn't have a sequence because one thing that I've never been a advocate of, a fan of with EFT is having scripts. Okay, something you learn with EFT, you possibly have, maybe haven't learned already, is a technique called following the energy, which is different to chasing the pain in EFT. Okay, following the energy. So what I do, if you had a sleep problem, I just get you to close your eyes and imagine trying to go to sleep. Say, okay, go to sleep. And what would typically happen is they would start to feel energy in the body somewhere that feels, no, that's wrong. The energy says no. Could choose that energy, and using the technique following the energy, we'd chase that back to what is it? Is it like it's not safe to go to sleep, or because that's often a big one, is like it's not safe, where people will stay, anybody that's in like constant state of anxiety, they will stay in the 3rd stage of sleep instead of going to the 4th stage. So I'm sure you know and understand from your background, yeah? Because basically it's not safe to go into a deep sleep. They're sleeping with one eye open. So by following that energy, we'd actually get to the specific memories and the beliefs, the decisions that they've made that are stopping them from sleeping. So without, that's with virtually any issue, that's where I'd go. Let's tune into the problem. Where does that go back to? What is the memories? What's the beliefs? What's the decisions that's stopping you from sleeping? Okay, and then we do the work. But very effective. Okay.
Yeah, Divya, you had a question.
So I'm a counseling psychologist actually, and when I stumbled upon EFT actually in 2012, 2013, quite by accident, and I was really awestruck by the effectiveness of it and how fast it works, because as someone who's been trained in traditional talk therapy, suddenly having access to this tool, it just opened up my world like never before. And one of the things I initially struggled with was how to explain the concept of EFT, to someone who's not at all from the field of say mental health per se, but to a lay person for whom concepts like consciousness and energy is more on the spiritual level and they don't resonate with it on an everyday basis.
Right. And how do you explain that to people, yeah, in your field of counseling, talk therapy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I would go to explain how EFT works on a simple level, okay? Because I mean, all that knowledge you have through counseling and talk therapy is, it's priceless, okay? But then you've got these skills to, to help. As Bruce Lipton says, the problem or the limitation with talk therapy is you can be aware of who did what, when it happened, but conscious awareness does not change what's happening in subconscious. And that's the problem, yeah? And that's, I think, what you find by bringing in EFT, that you actually change things on a subconscious level. So the way I see, and it's actually Matrix that helped me understand EFT, that basically when we have the trauma, when we can't fight, we can't flee, we freeze, that's when we create the echo. And everything's recorded in that moment. Okay? Every thought, feeling, emotion, sensation, what's going on in the nervous system, breathing patterns, beliefs, everything is recorded through the subconscious that's processing 40 million bits of information a second. Okay? As compared to the conscious mind, the 40 bits of information. So you've got the echo containing that information. So straight away, that echo now equates to inner child, part, subroutine, subpersonalities, regression, a soul retrieval, whatever that might be in Indian, a Vedic understanding. Okay, but this is not a new concept, is it? We just call it an echo. Okay, so the way I see EFT, that echo is holding all that trauma from that event. EFT, we re-experience it. You can say something like, just think of a bad memory. You're absolutely fine now. Think of a bad memory. They start to re-experience it. They feel that sick feeling of stomach, that tightness in the chest, the ball in the throat. And that is simply re-experiencing what happened that day. But the information is held by the echo. And the way I see it is the meridians are carrying that information to your heart, to your lungs, to your spleen, to your kidneys. And the tapping, simply, it releases. It's a reset. It switches off that energy. So when you go and look at that memory after that, it's like, you know what? That doesn't bother me anymore. I'm not feeling those reactions. Okay? And also, because trauma is current, subconsciously. To the conscious mind, in the past, over and done with. But to the subconscious, you're stuck there in that moment where you froze. And by tapping and releasing that energy, it's like it allows it, it's in the past, it's over. So yeah, I know it's kind of quite a bit there, but does that make sense to you? And as a way that you can kind of bridge between traditional counselling understanding and psychotherapy understanding and how EFT works. So we're not talking about this mystical energy. We're just talking about, the energy is you're re-experiencing what happened that day. And I think that makes it easy to somebody understand. It comes from where you're taking away the mystical side of all the energy. She's like, you've experienced the same feelings in your body as what happened that day. And the tapping on these powerful acupuncture points releases that energy so that, it resolves the trauma of the memory, which is what you're trying to do with talk therapy anyway, isn't it? Resolve the trauma. Okay. So that's the way I describe it. And however you put that into your language, and shorten it, but that's where I see it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Anyone else have any questions? Yeah. So Karl, how do you feel having trained people in so many other countries? How do you feel about coming to India?
I mean, just without even coming to train, I just for so many years wanted to go to India, just to experience India.
Okay.
My wife is absolutely adores India. She's been over many times. In our 10 years when we divorced, her partner at that time worked a lot in India, I think, in telecommunications. So she came over a lot, and she absolutely adores it. So my wife and daughter are going to be coming over for 7 days when I'm doing quarantine. We'll spend that with them. Then they're going to go off and do their own travels around India, and I'll come up to Bangalore and Mumbai. But so excited about coming over.
Yeah.
As you know, I think you've seen how many people from India that live in the UK have on courses.
Yes.
The beautiful couple, Roma and Indy,
Yes.
in the Midlands, have been my regular helpers there. So it's just, I think Matrix especially really resonates something deep within the kind of the Indian psyche of, I think, roots of Ayurveda and, the Vedic texts. I think, and of course, actually, acupuncture didn't come from China; it came from India.
It came from
the oldest.
Yes.
Yeah, it predated. It was like 5,000 years ago. So it is like, it's. I love working with Indian people. Literally, hundreds and hundreds over the years in the UK. I live close to Birmingham, which has a very large Indian population.
Oh, yes.
And up in Manchester area as well. So yeah, I've always just got on well with Indian folks. I just love the energy, the kind of that calmness you have, the wisdom. The sights to see. I love Asian culture.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time in Thailand and Malaysia, and lived in Hong Kong for over a year. I just love Asia. I love the tropicalness of the climate, the foods. So I just love traveling and training. So it's about 25 countries that I've trained in now. Okay. And it's just always wonderful, to meet people in their own countries, and the reception's always just putting pressure on you guys. I always get a really good, nice reception, and I think just again something with from my experience of people from India, that willingness to learn.
Yes.
Yeah. Just that knowledge. English people can be a bit lazy, but that kind of thirst for knowledge and understanding.
Yes.
So I kind of know what to expect when I come over there. You said I'm going to get lots of questions, which I like as well.
Yes, when you're here, you will get a lot of questions. Yes.
Yeah. It won't be as bad as Germany, though. Germany's the worst place because it's like that precision of the German people. Yeah. It gets so technical there. Yeah. I mean, that was the hardest place because it's just like they've got the technicality of absolutely everything. Which I'm guessing India a bit more on the spiritual side more than the technical. I might be wrong there, but
okay. Shilpa, you wanted to ask?
Yeah. So, Karl, I wanted to ask actually a couple of questions, more from the aspect of budding psychologists. There are therapies that have come out like narrative therapy, ACT, which a lot of budding psychologists are going for. But I know the power of what EFT provides and Matrix provides. I remember that, I learned EFT level 1, level 2 and Matrix together. So I don't have a memory of practicing EFT alone ever. And,
right, yeah.
And I have worked a lot with sexual abuse and parents. So my question is actually that, like EMDR promotes itself very much for trauma itself. So can we think of something in terms of working on depression where, we can promote it in a way that, it's easier when a technique can be done for 1,000 things is very different from when it is promoted for, it works very well with this. Like EMDR specifically promotes for trauma. Though I know my husband has done EMDR and he's an EMDR trainer. I know I always have an edge knowing EFT, and I know that we constantly talk. So the flexibility of the tool is much higher when it comes to EFT and matrix. So I just was thinking, because I don't know how many people are really working in field of depression, which is like the budding thing in mental health right now. If we can do something there, would be really, we can again get an edge.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but the truth is that EFT and matrix are just for about just anything. But be it like serious disease, depression, anxiety, but money issues, relationship issues, manifestation. So from a training point of view, or to attract people on a course, I wouldn't look to go that specific, but on an individual level, like with you, Dr. Shilpa, you might decide to go down that, this is what I do. I've got these skills to resolve trauma, to resolve anxiety, to resolve depression. And your website focuses that. A lot of websites these days, it's like, these are not the skills. These are not all my, this is what I can help you with. This is my focus. People don't care. People don't care if you jump across a fire naked as long as their depression goes away. So whether you tap on them or talk to them or whatever, they just want that to go away. So, what I say is on an individual level, you could have a website that focuses purely on that issue. Yes, I will help you with your depression. Okay, but to just direct like EFT matrix, or we deal with trauma, we deal with this, deal with that. I think it's limiting to the vast array of potential things we can work with. I mean, ironically, from what you said, everything we work with EFT is trauma. Absolutely everything. Everybody on this planet has got PTSD.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody. If you think about it, post-traumatic.
It's very ironical. People call it small t trauma, but actually for the client, it's not small t. Small t is for the therapist, but for the client, it is big T.
Yeah, well, to me, more damage comes from the small t than the big T.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big T is more about just trauma, whereas the small t is where you have create the beliefs that control your whole life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so absolutely the small t and gets complex trauma and everything. Yeah, absolutely, that does more damage because you're facing that every day. You don't face a car crash every day or tsunami every day, but you face I'm unlovable or the world's dangerous every day. Create stress every day and anxiety every day, especially as you globalize and you keep attracting and creating and look for proof of this, and the problem gets worse and worse and worse. Your reaction gets worse and worse. You end up in a constant state of anxiety. Now you're going to end up with some form of disease, physical or mental disease. So absolutely, totally agree with you. So no, just maybe if it's an area you want to focus on, just you advertise. I am the expert on that, and we have that within Matrix. It talks about my sister, her speciality, working with past lives. With Janice, her speciality is grief and loss. Penny Kroll, you come across in the UK, you're working with cancer. Sasha, first book, she used to focus on working with fibromyalgia, ME. So, we have a lot of practitioners that do focus. We have others that are just like GPs, that they're more, they work with everything.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mridula.
So thank you, Karl. Is there any more questions? Or thank you for your time, Karl. We really appreciate you having taken this time out to answer all our questions.